Time is life, and how you manage it determines how you live. Every person on earth wakes up with the same 24 hours. No more, no less. Yet somehow, a small group, the top 1%, seem to stretch time. They build empires, stay healthy, deepen relationships, and still find space to reflect, recharge, and grow. It's not magic, it's mastery. And it all comes down to how they manage their time. Most people don't run out of hours. They run out of clarity. They confuse motion with progress, noise with urgency, and busyness with achievement. But the top performers, they operate differently. They don't race the clock. They partner with it. They don't let life happen to them. They design it. Today I'm going to show you how they do it, not with complicated routines or rigid perfectionism, but with timeless principles that work in real life. They don't rely on endless to-do lists. They rely on systems, on mindset, on rhythm. They build their days with intention before the day begins. They protect their energy. They choose priorities with precision. And they're not afraid to say no because they know what they've already said yes to. If you've ever felt like time is slipping through your fingers, if you're tired of feeling busy but never fulfilled, or if you're ready to finally take control of your schedule, your energy, and your results, this is your moment. Stay with me for the next few minutes as I walk you through how the top 1% manage their time and how you can too. Let's dive in. Number 1, design your day before the world touches it. The top 1% don't start their day by checking emails or scrolling through social media. They start it by following a plan they've already created. Long before the world demands their attention, they've already decided what matters most. That's the difference. They design their day before the world even has a chance to touch it. Take Benjamin Franklin, one of the most influential figures in American history. He followed a simple but powerful daily structure. Every morning he asked himself, "What good shall I do today?" And every evening he reflected, "What good have I done today?" His schedule included blocks of time for reading, focused work, meals, and rest. He lived by design, not by accident. Most people wake up and immediately go into reaction mode. Notifications, messages, meetings, distractions, it all hits them before they've had a moment to think. The result: they spend the entire day putting out fires instead of building what matters. But it doesn't have to be that way. Designing your day doesn't require hours of planning. It can take just 10 minutes the night before. Look at your calendar. Choose your top 3 priorities. Block time for deep work. And just as importantly, block time for breaks, family, and reflection. When you wake up, you won't be guessing. You'll be executing. This small shift creates momentum. It reduces decision fatigue. It gives your day direction and flow. And over time, it compounds into serious results. The top 1% treat their calendar like a blueprint. It's not about cramming the day full. It's about creating structure that supports what they truly value. That's how they stay focused in a distracted world. That's how they make meaningful progress without constant overwhelm. If you want to win the day, don't start it by default. Start it on purpose. Before your head hits the pillow tonight, take a few minutes to map out tomorrow. Ask yourself, what would make this a successful day? Then build your time around that answer. Because once your day is designed, your choices become clearer, your focus becomes sharper, and your time becomes yours again. The world will always try to interrupt your day, but if you've already planned it, you'll know exactly what to return to. That's the secret the top 1% live by, and it's one you can start using today. Number 2, build a weekly strategy, not daily reactions. The top 1% don't approach time management as a day-to-day scramble. They operate from a higher view. They think in weeks, not just days. Because when you only plan one day at a time, you stay reactive, constantly putting out fires, rearranging your calendar, and wondering where the time went. But when you step back and design your week, you create alignment. You step into strategy. Let's look at Olivia, a nurse in Chicago. Her job was demanding, her shifts were unpredictable, and her home life felt like a blur. For a long time, she told herself she didn't have time to plan. She was too busy. But after one particularly exhausting week where she forgot a friend's birthday, skipped workouts, and missed a critical appointment, something had to change. So Olivia made a decision. Every Sunday night, she gave herself 1 hour to plan the week ahead. She looked at her upcoming shifts, her personal goals, and her family responsibilities. She mapped out meals, carved out time for rest, blocked time for errands, and even more importantly, protected space for her. In just a few weeks, she felt the difference. Her days stopped feeling chaotic. Her schedule felt like a roadmap, not a maze. And she no longer started each morning guessing what was urgent, because she already knew what was important. That's the power of a weekly strategy. It helps you anticipate, not just react. It gives you space to align your time with your values. It allows you to choose your focus instead of letting the world choose it for you. The top 1% don't just survive their schedule, they lead it. They review their goals weekly. They ask, what needs to move forward this week? Then they schedule it. They batch similar tasks together. They group meetings. They prep what can be prepped. And they leave margin for life to happen, because it always does. You don't need a perfect plan. You just need a plan that reflects what matters. That's what separates the successful from the scattered. So here's your move. Pick 1 hour each week to map out the next 7 days. Sunday evening, Monday morning, whatever works for you. Ask yourself, what does a successful week look like? Then reverse engineer it. Plug in your priorities first, not last. Protect them. When you start thinking weekly, your days become smoother. Your stress lowers, your focus sharpens, and your progress accelerates. The most productive people don't rely on luck. They rely on preparation. Build your week before it builds you, and you'll never look at time the same way again. Number 3, fill your time with moments that matter. The top 1% don't just measure time in hours, they measure it in meaning. They understand that it's not how long you do something that matters most, but how deeply you do it. They don't chase endless activity. They pursue rich experiences. Because while time passes either way, fulfillment only comes when you use it with intention. Take Jane Goodall, the pioneering primatologist and conservationist. She didn't build her legacy by checking off tasks at lightning speed. She built it by diving deep into the work that mattered, spending months in the jungle, observing, listening, learning. Her time wasn't packed with frantic motion. It was filled with purpose. Most people spend their days in a blur. Meetings, messages, errands, noise. They're moving, but not truly present. At the end of the week, they're exhausted, but they can't point to a single meaningful moment that filled them up. That's the danger of shallow time. The top 1% avoid this by filling their time with intention. They create experiences worth remembering. They slow down long enough to have deep conversations. They immerse themselves in creative work. They give full attention to the people they love. They rest, not just to recharge, but to experience peace. Here's the truth. 1 hour spent fully engaged is more powerful than 3 hours half distracted. When you're present, time stretches. When you're immersed, your work improves. And when you value the quality of time over the quantity of tasks, life begins to feel richer. You don't need a trip to the mountains or a major life change to experience this. It could be as simple as turning off your phone during dinner, taking a walk without headphones, giving someone your full attention, dedicating 90 focused minutes to the one project that matters most today. Ask yourself, what will I remember from this day a year from now? If the answer is not much, it might be time to shift how you're using your hours. The most fulfilled people are not the busiest. They're the most present. They don't fill their calendar to the brim. They fill their moments with intention. And because of that, their time multiplies in value. So stop measuring your life in how many things you got done. Start measuring it in what those things meant. Fill your time with experiences that matter, and you'll find that success and satisfaction are no longer separate goals. They're the same. Number 4, master the art of selective no. The top 1% know that every yes carries a hidden cost. Say yes to everything, and soon your schedule is filled with things that serve everyone except you. That's why high performers master the art of the selective no. They don't say no to be rude. They say no to stay focused, to stay in alignment, to say yes to what truly matters. Let's take Anthony, a financial analyst in New York. For years, Anthony prided himself on being reliable. Need someone to stay late at the office? He'd say yes. Want help moving this weekend? He'd say yes. Invite to a last-minute dinner across town on a packed weeknight? Yes again. He didn't want to disappoint anyone. But after months of overcommitting, Anthony found himself burned out, falling behind on his personal goals, and constantly stressed. Then one day he had a moment of clarity. He missed his mother's birthday dinner. Not because he forgot, but because he had promised a coworker he'd finish a project that wasn't even urgent. That night he realized something had to change. Being available to everyone was making him unavailable to the things that mattered most. So Anthony built a new habit, a pause before every commitment. He started asking himself, is this aligned with my priorities? Is this my responsibility? Will this move me closer to the life I want? If the answer wasn't clear, the answer became no. It wasn't easy at first. He worried people would be upset. But something surprising happened. People respected him more. His time became more valuable, not less. And best of all, he had space to focus, recharge, and reconnect with his personal life. That's the shift the top 1% live by. They don't let guilt decide their schedule. They let clarity decide. They know that time is a limited resource, and protecting it is not selfish. It's smart. You can do the same. You don't have to say yes to every invitation, every favor, every urgent request. Start by giving yourself permission to pause. Check in with your goals before checking your calendar. Say no gracefully, but firmly. And remember, every no to something unimportant is a yes to something essential. When you master the selective no, your life gets lighter, your focus sharpens, your time opens up, you begin to feel in control again, not because you're doing less, but because you're doing more of what matters. The top 1% don't do everything. They do the right things. And that starts by protecting their time with bold decisions and quiet strength. So the next time you're asked to add something to your plate, ask yourself, what am I trading for this yes? Then choose wisely. Number 5. Prioritize what moves the needle. The top 1% don't waste energy chasing everything. They focus on the few things that create the biggest impact. While most people scatter their time across dozens of low-value tasks, high performers zoom in on what actually moves the needle. They understand a critical truth. Not all tasks are created equal. Look at Nikola Tesla, the brilliant inventor. He wasn't known for multitasking or dabbling in countless projects at once. When he was working on a breakthrough, whether it was alternating current or wireless energy, he locked in completely. He obsessed over the details that mattered most. He let go of the distractions, ignored what was trending, and gave himself fully to what would change the game. That level of focus wasn't just talent. It was a decision. You see, most people confuse motion with progress. They check emails, sit in meetings, shuffle papers, and by the end of the day, they feel drained but can't point to anything meaningful they actually accomplished. The top 1% avoid that trap. They start their day asking, what's the one thing I can do today that would make the biggest difference? Then they protect time to do exactly that. It's not about doing more, it's about doing what matters. That means identifying your high-leverage tasks, the ones that create results far beyond the time they take. It might be closing a key deal, writing a chapter of your book, refining your product, having a critical conversation, or learning a new skill that changes your future. To apply this in your own life, try the 80-20 principle. 80% of your results come from 20% of your actions. Your job is to find those 20% tasks, and then guard them fiercely. You'll need to let go of some good things to make room for the great things. You'll need to say no to busy work and low-return activities. But the reward is massive: more clarity, more progress, and more meaningful success. Tesla didn't invent by accident. He chose what mattered, then gave it everything. And that's what you must do too. Look at your to-do list. What's the one task that actually moves you forward? Highlight it. Start there. Because when you make the important things your first things, everything else begins to fall into place. The top 1% don't do more than everyone. They do what others avoid. And that's what creates results most only dream about. So today, stop asking, what do I have to get done? And start asking, what will make the biggest difference? Then do it with focus, with energy, and without apology. That's how you move the needle. That's how you win. Number 6, create blocks that build, not break you. The top 1% don't live in constant chaos. They don't bounce from one task to another, reacting to every ding and buzz. Instead, they carve out focused blocks of time, periods of deep, undisturbed effort where real progress happens. They don't just work harder, they work smarter by protecting their flow. Meet Rena, a freelance photographer based in Denver. When she first launched her business, she thought multitasking was the key to productivity. She'd edit photos while responding to emails, answer client texts in the middle of shoots, and try to juggle scheduling, invoicing, and creative work, all in the same breath. Her days were long, her energy drained, and despite staying busy, she felt like nothing was ever truly finished. Then she learned about time blocking. Rena started grouping her work into focused windows, editing from 9 to 11, emails from 11 to 11:30, shoots in the afternoon, admin tasks in the evening. She silenced notifications, closed unnecessary tabs, and told her clients when she was available, instead of reacting to them immediately. The result: her quality skyrocketed, her stress plummeted, and for the first time in a long while, she ended her workdays feeling accomplished, not scattered. That's what time blocks do. They remove decision fatigue, they reduce mental clutter, and they train your mind to go deep. Instead of giving 20% attention to 5 things, you give 100% to one thing at a time, and finish it faster, better, and with less stress. Our brains aren't built for constant switching. Every time you interrupt your flow, it takes several minutes to refocus. So those tiny distractions, they aren't tiny, they're momentum killers. The top 1% know this. That's why they treat focus blocks like appointments with themselves. And they keep those appointments just as seriously as they would with a client or a boss. You don't need to block your entire day. Start small. Choose one 90-minute window to work without interruption. Pick your most important task and dive in. Protect that time like it's gold, because it is. Over time, you'll begin to crave those deep blocks. You'll feel the difference in your output, and you'll wonder how you ever worked any other way. Rena didn't get more hours in her day. She got more from her hours. And you can too. Don't let your schedule be a patchwork of scattered tasks. Build it with intention. Stack focused blocks. Eliminate distractions, and let those blocks become the foundation of everything you're trying to build. Because real success doesn't come from constant motion. It comes from concentrated energy. That's what builds. That's what lasts. Number 7. Trade busyness for results. The top 1% don't confuse being busy with being effective. They don't wear their packed calendars like badges of honor. Instead, they measure their days by what actually got done, what moved them forward, what created results, what truly mattered, because at the end of the day, motion isn't the same as progress. Take Amelia Earhart. She didn't become the first woman to fly solo across the Atlantic by constantly chasing tasks or filling her schedule. She focused on the goal. Her training was intense, deliberate, and outcome-driven. Every flight, every maneuver, every decision was calculated to get her closer to mastering her craft and achieving something historic. She wasn't busy, she was precise. Now contrast that with how many people live today. Constant movement, endless multitasking, back-to-back meetings, dozens of emails, and still very little progress. They feel tired but not accomplished. They've moved all day but never arrived anywhere meaningful. That's the trap. Thinking activity means achievement. The top 1% break this pattern by asking one simple question at the end of each day. What did I actually complete? Not what they started, not what they thought about, but what they finished. What added real value to their goals or to the people they serve. This shift changes everything. You stop trying to fill time and start trying to finish things. You become less reactive and more intentional. You stop adding to your to-do list just to feel productive and start focusing on results that matter. Here's how you can apply it. Every morning, choose one high-impact task. Call it your win for the day. Just one. Finish that before anything else. It could be writing a proposal, making a hard phone call, outlining a strategy, or solving a major problem. That's your measure of success. Not how many things you touched, but what you actually pushed across the finish line. And don't be fooled by appearances. Some of the busiest people accomplish the least. And some of the calmest, most focused individuals are moving mountains because they choose completion over commotion. Amelia Earhart didn't try to do everything. She picked one mission and gave it everything. You can do the same. Pick fewer things. Do them better. And don't stop until they're done. If you want to stand out, stop measuring your success in how overwhelmed you feel. Start measuring it in the value you create, in what you finish, in how you move. Because the world doesn't reward you for how busy you are. It rewards you for what you deliver. And once you start trading busyness for results, you'll find that success becomes not just possible but predictable. Number 8. Make space for stillness and strategy. The top 1% understand that in a world obsessed with speed, stillness is a superpower. While most people race through their day reacting to everything that demands attention, high performers deliberately pause. They step back. They create quiet space to think, reflect, and strategize. Because they know that clarity doesn't come from chaos. It comes from calm. Let's talk about Marcus, a startup founder in Austin. Early in his business journey, Marcus worked nonstop. His days began with messages and ended with exhaustion. He was hustling hard, yet felt like he was going in circles. No matter how many hours he worked, something always felt off, like he was sprinting without a map. Then a mentor gave him simple advice. You're moving fast, but are you moving in the right direction? That one question changed everything. Marcus started blocking out 30 minutes every morning for stillness. No phone, no laptop, just a notebook, a pen, and a quiet space. He used that time to review his vision, ask hard questions, and plan his day with intention. Sometimes he journaled. Sometimes he simply thought, but in that space, the noise faded and clarity rose. In just a few weeks, his decisions improved. His days felt sharper, and his company started to grow. Not because he was working harder, but because he was thinking better. That's what the top 1% do. They don't just make time to do, they make time to think. They schedule silence the same way others schedule meetings. And in that silence, they find answers others never stop long enough to discover. You don't need hours of meditation or a retreat in the mountains. Start with 10 minutes a day. Step outside. Sit with a journal. Ask yourself, what matters today? What am I avoiding? What's the one decision I need to make? Then listen, not to your notifications, but to your own insight. Most people are so busy reacting that they never stop to reflect. But reflection is what leads to recalibration. It's how you course correct before you're completely off track. And it's how the top 1% stay aligned, focused, and ahead. Don't underestimate the power of stillness. In that space, you reconnect with your purpose. You sharpen your goals. You make better choices. And you begin to lead your life from the inside out. Marcus didn't slow down to fall behind. He slowed down to move with precision. You can too. So instead of rushing into the day, start by creating space. The world moves fast, but wisdom moves quietly. And in that stillness, you'll find the clarity to lead with purpose, not pressure. That's the power of strategic silence, and it belongs on your schedule. Number 9, use technology as a tool, not a trap. The top 1% use technology, but they don't let it use them. In a world of endless pings, buzzing phones, and algorithm-driven distractions, they stay in control. They don't react to every notification or scroll through endless content. Instead, they treat their devices like tools, not extensions of their nervous system. Take Maya Angelou. Long before the internet, she instinctively knew the value of focused space. When she wrote, she didn't sit at home surrounded by noise or comfort. She rented a small, quiet hotel room with no distractions, just a Bible, a notebook, and her thoughts. She created boundaries for deep work, even before modern distractions existed. Imagine how much more powerful that principle is today. Now fast forward to our world. The average person checks their phone over 90 times a day. That's more than once every 15 minutes. They open an app to do something quick, and 20 minutes later, they've forgotten why they picked up the phone in the first place. Time slips away in the form of memes, messages, and meaningless scrolling. The top 1% avoid this trap by building intentional tech habits. They turn off non-essential notifications. They set specific times to check email or social media. They use tools like Do Not Disturb and airplane mode, not just when flying, but when creating. They even uninstall apps that offer nothing but distraction. Their mindset is simple. Does this tool serve my goals or sabotage my focus? If it serves, they keep it. If it steals, they delete it. You can do the same. Start by tracking how much time your devices are really taking. You might be shocked. Then start small. Designate 1 hour a day as phone-free. Use that time for deep work, meaningful conversation, or simple rest. As you build that muscle, extend it. Design digital boundaries that work for your goals. And when you do use technology, use it strategically. Let it amplify your learning, streamline your work, and connect you with people who matter. But never let it become the thief of your time or clarity. Maya Angelou didn't need a digital detox. She built her life around deep focus. But today we do need to be intentional. Because unlike the past, distraction now follows us everywhere in our pockets. The top 1% aren't more disciplined by nature. They're more deliberate by choice. They understand the cost of letting their attention be hijacked, and they fight to protect it. You don't need to delete every app, but you do need to decide who's in control. You or your screen. Technology should serve your vision, not steal it. Use it like a tool, sharpen it, schedule it, but never let it run the show. That's how the top 1% stay focused in a world built for distraction. Number 10. Set boundaries that guard your mission. The top 1% don't leave their time wide open for everyone else to claim. They know that if they don't set boundaries, the world will. That's why they draw clear lines, not out of arrogance, but out of purpose. They understand that time without protection quickly turns into time without progress. Let's talk about Carla, an attorney in Portland. Early in her career, she believed success meant being available 24/7 to clients, coworkers, family, anyone who needed her. She answered messages at dinner, took calls during workouts, and said yes to every request. On the outside, she looked driven. On the inside, she was running on fumes. One Friday evening, she was working on a last-minute case while her young son sat beside her, waiting to go outside. He quietly asked, "Do you work every day, Mom?" That question hit her harder than any deadline ever had. She realized she was letting everyone else's urgency override her own priorities. So Carla made a change. She created firm focus hours during the workday when no meetings or calls could interrupt. She designated evenings and weekends as family time, non-negotiable. She communicated her new boundaries clearly to clients and colleagues. At first, she feared pushback, but instead she earned more respect. Why? Because she respected herself first. That's what the top 1% do. They don't apologize for guarding their time. They know that every time they say yes to something that doesn't align, they say no to what does. And over time, those small leaks can drain even the most ambitious dream. Boundaries aren't barriers, they're bridges to your best work. They create space for clarity, creativity, and rest. They ensure your time flows where it's meant to go, not wherever the loudest voice wants it to. If you want to perform at your highest level, you must decide what is off-limits and non-negotiable. Protect your mornings. Reserve quiet time. Turn off notifications during deep work. Create screen-free hours with family. And most importantly, enforce those boundaries consistently. It's not about being rigid. It's about being clear. People can only respect the lines you're willing to draw. Carla didn't become less successful when she created boundaries. She became more successful. Her energy returned. Her focus sharpened. And her relationships deepened. You don't need more time. You need more protection around the time you already have. So choose your lines. Defend them with grace. And remember, boundaries aren't selfish. They're strategic. The top 1% don't just manage time. They own it. And it starts by deciding what's allowed in and what's not. That decision, it's entirely yours. Number 11, stay the leader of your projects. The top 1% don't just manage tasks. They lead them. They don't start projects and then let those projects run their lives. They stay in control, steering every initiative with purpose, structure, and clarity. Because if you're not actively leading your time and responsibilities, they'll begin leading you, and not always in the right direction. Let's look at Howard Schultz, the man who turned Starbucks into a global brand. He wasn't just a visionary. He was deeply involved in structuring how the company grew. From the beginning, Schultz didn't just push for expansion, he led with a clear plan. He knew when to delegate, when to pause, and when to shift gears. Every project was backed by a framework. He didn't chase momentum. He created it. Most people start with a good idea or task, but quickly get overwhelmed. One small project turns into dozens of moving parts. Meetings pile up, details multiply, and suddenly, what began as inspiration becomes a source of stress. That's what happens when you lose leadership over your own workload. The top 1% prevent this by building systems around every meaningful effort. They clarify outcomes, break work into phases, set deadlines, and assign roles. They do weekly reviews to track progress. They ask, is this still aligned with my goal? Are we drifting or moving forward? You can do this too. Whether you're leading a team or working solo, treat every project with respect. Define the goal clearly. Schedule regular checkpoints. Don't assume you'll figure it out as you go. Success rarely happens by accident. It's built by intention. And don't be afraid to pause and reassess. Sometimes a project needs a new direction, or needs to be dropped entirely. The top 1% don't cling to tasks just because they started them. They stay committed to the outcome, not just the effort. Leadership also means empowering others. If you're doing it all alone, you're not leading, you're surviving. Delegate with clarity. Trust your team. Let others take ownership while you focus on vision and quality. That's how you scale your time and energy. Howard Schultz wasn't in every Starbucks store, but his leadership shaped each one. He stayed above the noise while staying close to the mission. That's what it means to lead effectively. So take a look at your current projects. Are you running them, or are they running you? Are you steering with clarity, or reacting to chaos? To manage time like the top 1%, you must think like a leader, organize your work, review it often, empower others. And never forget, your role isn't just to complete tasks, it's to direct outcomes. Because when you stay the leader of your projects, you stay the leader of your future. Number 12. Pause, reflect, and realign weekly. The top 1% don't just go, go, go. They pause. They reflect. They reflect. They ask, is this working?